On this episode of He Said, She Heard, I sit down with Jordyn, the host of the Horny Housewife podcast. All this and more on He Said, She Heard.
He said she heard about what's going on. Oh yeah! He said she heard about what's going on. About what's going on. Hey, Foxer!
This episode is made possible in part to you by Link. Did you know there's a website where buying and selling goods and services is made easy? Whether you're buying old things, new products, or your services, such as oil and gas, precious stone, agriculture, etc. Link makes it easy. At Link, we give you the chance to get your brand or company global recognition. We even have a place for those that want to showcase their innovation, creativity, fashion, or creative writing to sell your articles. Or if you're in need of sponsorship. Are you into sports? And are you in need of a European agent? All you need to do is go to the section for sports and post your picture and video for agents to see you on Link. You can even post a business for sale, either online or as a standard brick and mortar store. Also, Link allows you to post job listings or post your resume. Just choose the country you want to work in, and your listing is live. Just like that. Find every product or service you're in need of at Link. Find out more by visiting amislink.com. And remember, there is a forum where you can meet new people and ask questions and chat. That's AMASLINK.com. Link. Buy, sell, and trade anything. Link will link you up to your dreams. Visit now for free. Welcome to the Season 6 premiere of He Said, She Heard. I'm your host, Mike Fox. I just want to say it's great to be here in the fall with you right now, in the moment. But August was a great month, and I'm still feeling the effects of August. It still feels warm here where I'm recording from. All because Podbean, the hosting provider for He Said, She Heard, was generous enough to promote this podcast on the app for about 3 weeks. And guess what? There's been long-term effects of that promotion. I'm getting new subscribers. And by the way, I see you. Can you see me? So the reason I'm saying that is because I've been trying to reach out to you, but I have no way of contacting my subscribers directly. So if you want to score some free merch just for becoming a new subscriber, click contact us on the website, www.hesaidSheheard.com. And also, if you referred somebody to become a subscriber, guess what? You're getting a free shirt. That's right. So click contact us, or if you follow me on Instagram, just DM me at He Said, She Heard. By the way, happy hump day. Now, that's because even though this episode wasn't recorded, per se, on a Wednesday, it's being released on a Wednesday, and also because joining me on the program right now is a host of a weekly podcast called the Horny Housewife, which is a couple's locker room. That's right, a couple's locker room where all things sex and the realities of marriage are discussed unfiltered. New episodes every Monday. Let's bring on Jordyn, and what better way to welcome her than with a song by Mattias Signoroldi.
Jordyn is here. She's host the show. It's called the Horny Housewife podcast. Jordyn is here, so make some noise. Jordyn is here. She's host the show. It's called the Horny Housewife podcast. Jordyn is here, so make some noise.
I love it. I wanted to woo when you said make some noise, but I didn't know if I was going to ruin it. Woo!
It's great to have you on the show, Jordyn. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. What a great intro. I was like inspired as you were doing it.
Well, thank you. You know, what I love about your show, Jordyn, is how you put such a great emphasis on communication, especially in regards to sex. Because if any marriage counselors are listening, I'm sorry to say this, but Jordyn has got you beat.
Thank you. Some people diss on me and they're like, you're not an expert. I'm like, I'm just speaking from experience and passion.
Yes, you don't have to be an expert.
Right?
You don't have to.
It's all perspective, and we're all doing this. So.
Exactly. We're all doing this. So I love on episode 86 where you tell us, the husbands that is, it's all about timing. That's something us dudes need to remember. It's very useful info for all of us guys, right? Because, like you said, when she's tired, it's not the right time to turn on the sexy. But then you tell us there's other times when it's okay for a little bit of surprise.
Yeah, I feel like there's married people. Like when I started this podcast, it was because I felt like there was a lot of the podcast about hookup culture and dating. And when you meet someone, like that's so different, that interaction.
It is.
And maybe how you play that quote unquote game. Committed relationships, it's a completely different lifestyle and you're dealing with the same partner. And if you're monogamous, you're having to choose them intentionally over and over and over and consciously. And if you don't, I mean, good luck on having hot sex, And I think so many guys get the communication part wrong. They make it so much harder than it really, really is. It's actually probably really easy to get laid and they're overcomplicating it. Mm-hmm. There's all kinds of different circumstances, but the podcast surprisingly has a really large male listenership. I guess either not surprising or surprising. And I think it's because a lot of guys relate to all of these topics and they want to know how to better speak to their wife, because with the right time and the delivery and tone and like starting it out with an affirmation when you want to bring something up, like butter her up a little bit, just like a guy likes an ego stroke, right?
Yes.
So I think that the guys can get a lot further if they just were a little more self-aware or open to some advice.
Yes. Did somebody tell you that you should create a podcast, or did you get inspired by some type of inner voice or the universe or something that told you, I just got to go with it? How did that all begin?
Well, okay, so not to be emo and like just one dark thing, I probably wouldn't have made this podcast if my mom was still alive. But my mom passed away right after my 30th birthday. And I think when you lose your mom, there's something like it's like kind of fucks you up. It just fucks you up a little bit, and you have this whole new perspective of I'm as a parent, I have a new perspective. As a wife, I have a new perspective. As a woman, and so I think I was just like, life is too short. I knew when my son went to kindergarten that I wanted to do something. I was not going to just stay at home because I had this thought my whole life that I would be completely fulfilled being a housewife. I lived in housewife community land for sure. And so I thought that that was what every girl would want to be. Like, get your nails done whenever you want, go shopping whenever you want. I guess I just saw it through the eyes of a child. I had no idea really, what my parents' relationship was like or all what marriage entailed. January 2021, the podcast came out, and I think I just wanted to try something. And I had a couple of people, I always voice memo people. And they're like, you should start a podcast. Like I talk a lot. I like to talk. And I give great advice, I think. I don't always take my advice, but I give good advice, I think. Maybe it's a little toxic sometimes, whatever. But I was like, I'm just going to go for it. And I did. And now it's turned into a job. So I love it. And I couldn't be more grateful to get to do what I love.
Wow. That's wonderful. Well, believe it or not, your listeners actually range from different ages. And I'm actually going to play you a clip here, Jordyn, of a couple that's quite up there in the years. You're going to be pretty surprised when you can tell how old they are, that they are huge fans of what you do.
Oh, this is exciting.
Yeah, so I know you weren't expecting this, but the name of this couple, their name Harold and Agnes. So this is a conversation the wife was recording of them just before they were getting in the mood and talking about your podcast.
Okay.
Oh, Harold, I hope you aren't too tired for sex.
Oh, Agnes, please don't take it personal, but I'm not popping another blue pill. I may end up in the ER.
Oh, The first season was so good.
Why? Because George Clooney was on that?
No, but that image in my mind is helping me get in the mood even more. I was speaking of this podcast I was just listening to.
The Horny Housewife? Oh, boy.
It's worth a listen. Let's put on episode 57.
The duck pick debate, is this about quack quack?
No, that's Anthony Weiner.
That didn't give you sexy points. It just let us know that all you're good for is fucking. That's it. Because it made it known that now we know you're a douchebag.
She's so right, Agnes, and it ended Anthony Weiner's political career.
So, this is the, sweet, soft, moody Monday truth I needed to give the men only because I love you and I want you to succeed.
Oh, she changed the topic. She's talking about me. For you.
You could start this off by when you're having sex, talking dirty in the heat of the moment when a lot of things can fly.
My mind is intellectually stimulated.
That maybe otherwise you wouldn't be bringing up, day-to-day convo, and see how she responds.
And I see that's not all that's stimulated. Thanks to Jordyn.
Oh, boy. I'm young again. Thanks to this wonderful podcast, The Horny Housewife.
Well, there you have it.
I want to meet them.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh my
Your show
God.
is
That
cross
was the best debate
generational.
right there.
I mean,
That was awesome. And I want that forever and ever.
yeah, you will have it forever and ever, and
That was cool.
that's awesome. I love how on that episode you tell people if you aren't subscribing, from one podcast to another, you aren't helping me at all, and that's just awesome. I wish I probably couldn't get away with saying that, but for you,
You should say
I should.
it. Everybody needs to subscribe to your podcast. I'll tell them. Everybody needs to subscribe to He Said, She Heard.
I see. It's okay when
You
you
heard it
say
here
it.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
It helps. Tell the people what to do.
yeah, you have to be direct. It's like in communication. That's what you're talking about with the couples. You're like, hey, for the men and for the women, both talk.
Both, yeah. I think a lot of women expect their husbands to be mind readers, and think that, oh, if I've been with him this long, that he should, and I'm guilty of doing this, he should know that I look like I'm sad, so why the fuck hasn't he come over and hugged me or called, you know what I
Right.
mean? And that's so unfair to do to your spouse because they have their own life and their own stress and their own situations, and then you go and be a bitch after and they don't even know what the fuck is going on. So if you can just voice what you need, and probably 9 times out of 10 they'll be happy to do it.
So true. So true. Wow. In that same episode, I think you had a guest named Marissa that was saying that things to the effect that we're so profound about bending with each other. Is that what they were saying? Like picking your own battles.
Marissa would love that you brought her up. First of all, she would
good.
be really excited. that
I'm
you
so
brought
happy
her.
to hear that.
She's my friend.
That's wonderful.
And I met her from the interview on that podcast, but she's a real amazing bitch. Yeah, she just says a lot of really spot on. She's very emotionally intelligent. She's only 25, but I feel like that's what trauma does to a person. It makes you grow up quicker. But yeah, you
It's
have
true.
to
I've noticed that.
you have to grow together because we're all going to grow and evolve. And if you don't make sure you're growing alongside one another, you'll probably grow apart.
That is true. That is true. It's important. It's like that reminds me of the movie Stripes when right before Bill Murray's getting ready to enlist in the Army and everything just goes downhill because he's immature. His girlfriend is saying, I need somebody that's going to grow with me.
Yeah. They want a ride, you need a ride or die. So one man wrote into me, I never shared this either, but there was a man that wrote into me saying he was turning me off. He wasn't going to listen anymore because I shared how, keep a man on their toes. Because I talked to the girls and the guys on the podcast.
Yeah.
Like you said, locker room talk.
Yes.
So just shooting the shit. And I know I'm not for everybody. You can't be for everybody. But this person said that because I shared, keep them on their toes, don't be predictable, kind of mildly toxic, he's like, we need a ride or die. And I never wanted to discredit saying that we shouldn't not be a piece of shit. Like, I don't think you should go say, hey, I got divorce papers in the office, like warm that I keep. You know, I'm not saying that, but you can spice it up and not be, if you're the same girl in t-shirt and leggings and a messy bun every day, it gets predictable. That may sound mean, but it gets predictable, just like if he was doing the same thing every single day. But I know that I definitely believe that behind every good man, that little cliche statement, is a good woman cheering him on. So.
Yeah, that's so true, because it's inevitable in any relationship. There's going to be boredom. There's going to be boredom. So I think that's what I like about this particular, because I've listened to other sex podcasts before, but what I like about it is it's from a married woman's perspective. So it's helpful. And like you said, you have a lot of guy listeners too. So that's the thing. It's, I think, helping guys to become a little better listeners to the wives.
Yeah, and I think it's relatable, because that's like the sex podcast I listened to in the beginning, they were relatable and I love funny too. But then once you hit a certain level and it's so overproduced and everything's picked for you, every guest, and they become almost like just an interviewer versus having a conversation and like talking about shit. It's like, I think people can relate to like the ugly parts of sex, or like the parts of marriage that are boring, and that sex can get routine, and that, I don't know, they don't feel hopeless. People that are married can sometimes feel really isolated, and the autopilot of life, especially after the pandemic, and basically everyone, so many people got divorced in the pandemic.
Yeah.
Because they were just stuck with each other.
Yes. Yeah, somebody was telling me that they would see people going to the mall in the parking lot and coming out of someone else's car. And it was obvious these people weren't married. They were probably, to each other. They were married to somebody else.
Yeah.
So that was increasing, because it was
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. And I think there's a lot of people, like, I'm monogamous, but there's a ton of people that I talk to on the podcast that are in open relationships, or I know people in open relationships, or people that are swingers, or and it works for some people and it doesn't work for others. But I definitely don't judge anyone's lifestyle.
Right. Well, that's what I like about one episode. I can't remember which one it was, but you were talking about how at least have that conversation. You probably aren't going to get everything that you want out of the marriage. You probably want this and you want that, but to not be afraid to at least talk about it. To not be, to bring it up.
To bring it up, and it's worth it, because some people think, like, I had one man share a story, and his is pretty extreme. Like, his is pretty wild. Like, I don't think most women would probably have the reaction she did. He shared that he wanted to try pegging and erotic spanking. And I don't know for who or for what, whatever, but he said that he brought it up to her, and she was horrified, and she was like, what the fuck? And she was upset, and I guess he did good with delivery and timing, but she processed it, and then she came to accept it, and then she was curious about it. Turns out she likes it. She fucking likes it. So it was like, we went through a little bit of hell to, like, for her to process, like, oh my God, and have all those thoughts, like intrusive thoughts, like, what does this mean? Does this mean this? Yeah. And then she just accepted it, and then they get to enjoy it together now. Wow. So I think it's totally worth bringing up.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, has anybody, like, shared stories about maybe they did, like, role playing sometimes where they might pretend to be other people?
Oh yeah,
they pretend to meet up and they
said to me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
People with really weird fetishes, like really weird fetishes.
What was the weirdest of all the fetishes?
The weirdest one, belly buttons. Something about an outie belly. It was, first of all, I thought, I've never shared this, so could I get to share it here? I've never, because I didn't want to give it any life on my podcast, because I thought someone was fucking with me, because I counted how many times the person wrote belly button in the post that they sent to me. So they went on my website, and I have an Ask Anonymous forum, and I always protect everybody's anonymity. Okay. But they used the word belly button 34 times. 34 times. No, it was like, and then, but what if I want her to touch my belly button? Because I have a weird outie belly button, and for some reason I just love, and I'm like, does he want me to say this? And it was really explicit, like, and I get like just a lot about the belly button. And then one was about granny panties. Like, he really loves to wear a diaper with granny panties on. Something that was the other kind of weird one. Not trying to yuck anybody's yum or anything.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, even though it is weird, at least it's not boring.
Yeah, like to each their own.
Exactly.
Is it something that I'm into? No. But and the feet people, there's a lot of guys that like feet, which I don't think it's weird. I think it's pretty actually like normal. There's like a ton of people that love feet.
Yeah.
But as a girl, I'm like, why do y'all like our feet? Do you like feet?
You're asking me?
Yeah. Would
no.
you share that with me?
I would share that with you. Honestly, when other guys are like, "Oh, look at those feet," I'm like, whatever. No. I'm not feet person at all. No.
Yeah, I'm like, you can see them like how, like, I get how breast or like what's clothed, but like your feet, like she's wearing sandals. I don't.
Well, back in the I forget what, when everything was prim and proper, when women always had their hair up and they wouldn't even show their arms. Showing your ankles was considered sexy at one point, and people would actually peep to see, oh, does that woman have her ankles showing? So
Look
just
at that
an ankle
bone.
would give him a boner back then.
He's got a boner for the ankle. Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Or I've heard trouser tent's another word for boner. Be like, oh my God, he's got a trouser tent. He just got a little ankle peep. Because I forget where I was reading this in a magazine, and they were like showing that actually. I think, or maybe it was on a program about sex, about how it's changed. We've gone from one extreme where it's show all to like show nothing.
Now it's everywhere. Now I open up Instagram and it looks like I'm on Pornhub. I swear to God, you're like, not really. That was an exaggeration, but I'm saying, like, you open it and like there's this one thing called like Hollywood Unlocks, like news, pop culture, and literally I'm like, there's a string over, like she's on dental floss twerking, and my 5-year-old's like, what's on your phone? I'm like, oh my God.
No, you're like, close it.
Yeah, I know. I do wonder what they're gonna think one day, because I have a 5-year-old. He doesn't know what I do, and then I have a podcast.
No.
I do wonder what that's gonna be like. But I'm like, you know what? He'll never want to listen to it. And then when if he's an adult and he's married, then he can listen to it, and he'll probably get some pointers from his mom.
Hey, other cultures, they have that open dialogue. It's I think only here in America that it's like, well, I don't think we should have this.
It's a little bit weird.
It's a little bit
just
weird.
For some people. We're breaking that stigma as far as like talking about things and like being a friend to our kids. I mean, I definitely am his parent and his authority before his friend, but
yes,
I hope he can talk to me about it.
Yeah, you want to at least you want to be respected as a parent, but at the same time, you don't want them to feel like, oh, I can't go to you. You're my mom.
Yeah.
About this.
I was taught, like, I had a purity ring. Like, I was taught that, you save yourself for marriage. So, and I didn't, and it's like, I think that's unrealistic to teach people that. Like, I would rather tell my kid, you better not get some girl pregnant. Like, you better, like, sex is serious.
Yes.
And you want to give $1 million in child support over the course of your life, I would try not have sex.
Yeah.
More than tell him he's going to like burn in hell if he doesn't.
Exactly. Yeah, because a lot of the holier than thous, they scare people with this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's
there's so many problems with that.
It's a lot of problems. And when all that stuff gets tied up in something that's supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be enjoyable, then you put all this weird dogma in it, and then it makes people.
And it's fucked up.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. That's a little, well, not left field, but it made me think. Why is your podcast called He Said, She Heard? Is it because like how we interpret things as men and women? Like, why did you name it that?
Initially, yeah, it was a variation on the he said, she said thing. Yeah, it is about that. There is often things that we might say that are misinterpreted, but it doesn't just always happen with the guys. The men misinterpret things too. And when I had started out the show, it wasn't topic based and video based and interview based like it is now. But in the beginning, it was just comedy skits. But the skits were based upon that absurdity, how we don't listen. We don't listen, and on both sides, and we really should.
Oh boy, I
listen.
think it's like a lifelong thing that we have to work on, or depending on our personality
is.
of just trying to not start thinking, especially in marriage when you're an autopilot and you think you know that person so well, and you're like, I need to not
Yes.
respond, or like you're just waiting for your turn to respond instead of just hearing them actually. That's very frustrating.
Yes, it is. Yeah, because the thing about listening is it's not just listening auditorily, because you could easily be texting, like, yeah, the spouse is talking about this, and like, You're focused on this, and you're just kind of like waiting for the pauses and going, yeah. But, and you might hear what he or she is saying to you, but it's like the heart has to be open too, because that's the thing about it is just like, that's what really makes long-lasting sex wonderful, is when the two people just are just so madly in
That's
love
how you have
with each other.
intimacy. Because
You
if
know,
you
I-
don't have some
Intimacy.
vulnerability, then like you're not connecting. And sometimes intimacy isn't like all lovey-dovey. Sometimes it's like awkward and it's uncomfortable.
No,
Yeah.
it is. It is, because you can tell the new couples when you're driving down whatever roads you live nearby, and your husband, you can like tell, okay, this is a couple that just met
They're
each
hot
other.
for each other.
They've got the
Yeah.
fresh love. They're holding hands. They're rubbing each other, constantly. But then you could tell the people who are really in love, they're sitting across a picnic bench from each other. There might be some tension there, but those people love each other. It's long-term love, and who knows? They might go home and have wild, hot
Like a
sex
safe and
when they
secure
get
feeling.
home.
And like that old
Yes.
committed relationship energy where you know that person and you feel safe and secure. And I think that there's a lot of, or women like me, and there's women on the opposite spectrum too, and then men who relate to me in this, the feeling of insatiability, or like you're used to, like, you need to mix it up, you need chaos sometimes, and that's toxic and
Yes.
problematic, because you're
That can be
mistaking peace for boredom, and that's really dangerous. So I think self-awareness is your best friend, or else you're going to self-sabotage every relationship.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, because it's a spiritual thing too. Not to get super deep, but yeah, it's about listening to yourself, really, your heart. So like you said, mistaking peace for boredom. You're thinking, I'm bored, but
you're
no,
like,
you're just
oh,
at
I'm
peace.
just,
There's no
or I
chaos
grew
going
up
on.
with chaos all the time, so that's where I feel the most acclimated in my nervous system. In my nervous system.
I know. Yeah, I mean, early on when I was single, sometimes I date people and I could tell they were used to people, guys treating them like shit. And then when somebody treats them well, they're not used to it. They're used to that chaos. They're used to the guy being a dick. That it's comfortable. Or their dad might have been a dick to them growing up.
Yeah,
Who knows?
yeah.
It's a comforting feeling. And then, a guy might pick a woman who's that way too. Because that's what he grew up with. He had a mother that was that way. So it's familiar. So it's like as you grow up, it's like all these things, come up, and sometimes they come up when you've been married for years.
Right?
You learn so much about yourself.
You do.
When you're married.
like almost forced to.
Yes.
Because you go through all these seasons and then you're like, oh my God, I have to look at myself. And then you project shit out onto people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially when the past comes out. You're like, that's why it's important not to have those knee-jerk reaction moments. And we all do. We're all guilty of it.
Yeah.
But like when the person gets the whiff of that, they're like, wait a minute. Okay, this might have nothing to do with them. It's something from, oh my God, decades ago.
Yeah.
And you're like,
my first love who cheated on me, or my childhood, whatever. Yeah.
exactly.
I think we're now, though, a lot of society, there's a lot of things wrong with society now, but one thing
There
that
is.
is positive is that I think a lot more people are like looking inward.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that that's happening, because that's what we need right now. Because especially when we're looking outward, or we're looking at other people and living vicariously through them on the internet, it's like we're forgetting to find that joy within ourselves.
Yeah,
Stuff
and
that
it's
makes
all
us
fake.
happy.
The internet
It's
is
all
not even
fake.
real.
It is. It's a facade.
It's
really,
a curated little picked thing that
Mm-hmm.
they get to put out there, and it's baloney. Like
It is
baloney.
baloney.
Like those. You know who the worst? I hate
Do
to
it.
talk shit, but like those little family bloggers drive me
yes.
nuts.
Oh my
And
God,
I'm sorry,
yes.
I'm triggered by it
This
sometimes.
is the part of our cruise.
Yeah. Or the ones that exploit their
Mm-hmm.
children, and like their children are making them $20 million a year, and they're like, labor laws are not in effect.
Yeah, I can't stand that shit either. That's annoying.
It's just wild to me. Yeah. But that's the internet.
That is the internet. Yeah. The very first episode I ever listened to from you was
Okay.
called "The Kink She Won't Give Me."
Which one was it?
And,
What game was it? Or, I don't know.
It was about communication, and you tell both the wife and husband to listen to each other, even if what the other partner may want is kind of taboo. At least to have
Yeah.
that conversation that feels like driving naked in the HOV lane. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And I think that I even lead into maybe saying that like sometimes you just have to get over it. Like there are some men that like their wife is not going to give them their butthole, and there's nothing I can say to change her mind. Sorry. There's nothing I can do to change, you know, like you can get her on and listen to the podcast, and I can try to encourage her and tell her if she does it in missionary, she'll have a great orgasm, but she may never want to try that. And it's like, so what are you going to do? Are you going to go divorce your wife and so you can go, you know, fuck some girl in the butt? I just think that some people, like, you can't have it all. And we have a society that's like, you can have all of it. And I just think it's stupid.
Yeah, because I remember
So-
you said you could try to have it all, but there's a price to pay.
And some people will. Good for them.
If they can, yeah, but there's consequences. There's going to be hurt feelings, and it might not just be the other person that's hurt. You're going to be wounded too. That's what they.
And what's having it all? Like, so if you want
What
the
is it?
money, then you'll probably, you know, slack in other areas. You just have to trade things. You know, your time is so valuable.
Yes.
And prioritizing your marriage is important. And I think guys would be surprised if they watered their marriage, like what kind of, that they could have the whore wife that they want. Does that make sense?
Exactly. Even couples that are always busy all the time, they may not have any help nearby. There's always a time when the kids are going to be sleeping. You might be
And to
tired, but
date each other, just mix it up. Morning time. You can get creative if you want to. It's like you
Exactly.
can always have time for what you want.
you can always make that time. Yeah, because then it takes the edge off. You could say, well, oh, we got to do this, we got to do that. But, okay, but if you and your spouse have to do it, wouldn't it be better to do it when you feel more relaxed?
Yeah.
You know?
Instead of feeling obligated, or the guy feels like he has so much pressure on him to perform, and it's like not sexy because anxiety isn't sexy.
No, it's
but
not.
There's someone I talked to, and she recommended if you're having to schedule sex, which there's pros to that and doing that, make it where it's just like intimate, erotic night, where if it's just you laying naked together and sex doesn't end up happening, but you got to laugh and have a conversation and foreplay or whatever, but it doesn't have to be every time you schedule this intimate time to like, he needs to perform and it look like this and you got to be a down bitch. Like sometimes it can look different. It doesn't have to look like porn every time.
You know, just hearing that said from a woman is so breathtaking. It is. Because us guys have to be reminded of that.
Yeah.
It's not about, you know, performing. It's just about being intimate with your partner.
Girls don't get off every fucking time. Like that is like, and it's nothing to do with the guy.
It has nothing to
to
do.
do with the guy.
No.
So we feel like failures when we can't do that for you. A lot of us do. We don't say it. And then y'all feel like y'all beat yourselves up for if it doesn't go a certain way. And we don't even give a shit. You're just doing it to yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what's the point of like letting that internal demagogue go off and just say, you're a piece of shit. What's the matter?
Yeah. And then it's just going to fuck you up for next time.
For next time, because then it's like once that voice comes, you're like, oh boy. It's like that classic scene when, you know, the guy goes,
It's like a crazy stress cycle. I saw something about how this couple was going to therapy for their sex life. They wanted to have more sex, and they put the guy on testosterone. They're like, you're low test, you probably need more because you're this age, your testosterone levels are going down. So they put him on it, or like something that helps him produce more, and then nothing really changed. Like the sex didn't increase. So now he's all like in his head, stressed out, and it has created this stress cycle where literally he's in his head about why it's not working, and he's actually hurting himself with like the high cortisone levels, and he's
Yeah.
all of this stuff is like shut your dick down stuff.
Oh boy.
So now he's not even able to perform because he's in a loop of stress because he's
cycle.
putting this hormone in him every month. Nothing's changing. He's stressed out about it already, and then more because he thinks it's supposed to be helping, when really it's not even testosterone that he needed. It was like lifestyle changes he needed, like diet and his work and stress and how he manages it. And if you're coming home and you're watching TV and drinking every night, like don't expect to have like a rock hard dick 5 days a week. Maybe you do, but I think that people that drink excessively and don't work out and eat bad are not gonna have the best sex drives.
It's true. It's true. I've heard about that. Yeah, people that
Not every guy, but
not
some
every
guys.
guy, not every guy, but yeah,
Especially guys on medicine, like if they're on SSRI or if they're on medicine, like medicine affects people negatively. So all
It
kinds
does.
of things.
yeah, especially the different types of medications. That's why it's important that when they go to the doctor, they ask, "Is this going to affect this?" Sometimes the doctors voluntarily will tell the male patient, "This won't affect your your sex
Yeah,
drive."
sex drive.
Exactly.
Yeah, or
They'll
like,
tell-
or doctors will give SSRIs to guys to help them last longer for like premature ejaculation. And
Oh.
it's like, that's fucked up. In my
It is.
opinion, that's fucked up because SSRIs, they're going to have so many negative effects because you're trying to hold your nut longer. And I think that there's other, like the Promescent. I got to talk to and this is not like, he doesn't pay me to say this, but Jeff Abrams made the delay spray. Have you ever heard of that?
No, is that
Delay
what?
spray. So he like changed the molecule because he hated how lidocaine felt on the dick. He hate that
Yeah,
it made him
numbing it.
numb
Yeah.
because he didn't want to numb him and his partner. So he
No.
made this delay spray that like the only shitty part is you have to like wait 3 minutes for it to sit like dry on your dick. But it works, and then you don't have to take a pill.
Oh, it helps them stay
spray.
harder with the lidocaine.
No,
or-
what?
What does the what does the lidocaine do on this? on
The
this
okay,
penis?
well, the lidocaine for some people it numbs their dick so that they don't have so much sensation, so they're not overstimulated, so they don't come too quickly.
Oh, I see. So they
This is for
minimize the
guys who-
stimulation
Yeah, it's for guys who come too quick.
because they're too excited too quick. I got
Yeah,
you now.
like if you come within 1 minute, like you need to do something about it. You know what I mean?
Yes. I'm sure there's natural ways of doing it. Like someone said like one time, it's
Edging,
like, what's that?
edging. Is that what you were gonna say? I
About
thought?
like
No.
where somebody's taking a leak and then you squeeze it as you're doing it. Is that what?
No, I don't
the same
know. I
thing?
thought edging was like you practice keeping your cum in. Like you practice like with masturbation, you practice to like wait to get
Okay.
off.
Okay, to hold it off. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was talking about like when a guy's taking a leak, even though I mean it might be the same muscle because it's all coming out the same hole. If he maybe squeezes it, inside,
I don't have a
provided he
penis.
doesn't have a what's that?
I don't have a penis. So I don't
Right,
know.
right. No, I'm just that's what I'm just saying that there's got to be other ways than just spraying one's dick with lidocaine.
I'm like, I do not know what you're talking.
No, it's just I just heard there's other ways besides
Yes, there's
medicines
definitely other
that won't cause
ways than
long-term
taking
effects.
Yeah.
That
an
and then-
antidepressant. Fuck that.
Exactly. There's always got to be alternatives. I was like, I don't have.
But that's very educational. I'm sure all your listeners wanted to know that. So
I'm sure. I wasn't going to talk about it, but this is what's great. It's like talking to a host of the Horny Housewife podcast. It just allows the floodgates of things I usually wouldn't talk about typically.
you
on the
never
show.
know what's gonna come out. What do you normally talk about?
Well, whatever the guest is into,
Yeah.
I'm here to promote what the guest is doing, what you're doing. So that I always make it about the guest. It's
Awesome.
their episode.
I really
So,
enjoyed it.
I'm sorry.
I said I really enjoyed it.
Oh, really? I enjoyed it too. I enjoyed having you too. I'm just I can't wait to see. So, are there any other projects maybe outside the podcast that you're working on at the moment?
No, I do a Patreon, so I do read
Okay.
audio erotica, but that's just like a little side thing for the people who love when I read audio erotica once a month on the podcast.
Okay.
There's some people who don't even listen to it. They listen to my podcast, and then that's not for them. I always leave it at the end in case people don't like it. And then some people love it, and
Yeah.
so they can be a part of the Patreon, and I upload 2 of them a week.
No, that's.
But other
that's
than
good
that,
marketing,
I'm just a mom and a wife and a stepmom, and I'm juggling 2 boys. One's 13,
Join the
one's
club.
5, and then my husband, he owns a business, so we're just busy.
You're just busy. So this is just kind of giving you that time to. The podcast gives you that time to work that certain part of your brain. I don't know what. which
Yes,
is like
it's my passion.
exactly.
I like to read a
passion.
lot too, but this is fun
Yeah.
because it's nice to start making my own money, because
Mm-hmm.
it's not fun feeling completely dependent on a person.
No, it's not. It's not. So and plus you're making it, doing something you love. So it's like a meaningful way of
Yeah,
making a
hell
living,
yeah.
'cause
I would way
it's
rather
bringing-
do that.
Absolutely. Well, I look forward to seeing your continuous growth. I just know I've seen this with other people I've brought on the show. Like later on, they're doing something really big, and they have so and so on their show, and you're like, wow. So I know that's what's going to happen to you because you're growing, and just keep doing what you're doing, Jordyn. People love you.
Thanks, I appreciate it. I don't want to stop until I'm in the 0.01%. So maybe one day I'll look back and saying this, and then I'll be there. Right now I'm in the 0.05, so I've got a couple points to go.
Well, you'll get there. You'll get there. Episode by episode. Every Monday, the show's called The Horny Housewife, and Jordyn is the host. Check it out and subscribe, because if you're not subscribing to her, you're not
What are you
helping her.
doing? Yeah.
I don't. What are you doing? You're just passively listening, like, okay, check
Exactly.
it out. No, subscribe.
Subscribe.
And the website again?
My website, thehornyhousewifepodcast.com. And you can ask
.com.
anonymously on there or on my DMs and Instagram. Either way, doesn't matter. But yeah, and make sure you subscribe to He Said, She Heard.
Thanks, Jordyn.
Have a good day.
You too.
We conclude this episode with an original song by 40 Degree Heat. The song is called Sunshine Days.